In this series, we're talking about people who believe in God but have various obstacles that prevent them from pursuing God in a greater way. And one of those obstacles is actually the church. There's a lot of people who believe in God but who don't trust the church. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this lesson today in these 3 videos. First of all, we want to look at really what is the nature of the church in God's plan. God cares about the church. It's important to Him. So that's the first thing we need to understand in answering this objection. And we see that in Matthew chapter 16, verse 18. This is the first mention of the church in the New Testament. It's straight from the lips of Jesus Himself. He says, "On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it." Jesus said, look, this is my church. I believe in it. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to build it. It's not going to fail. It's not going to go away. And so we see that the church is a priority to Jesus. And in fact, in Ephesians chapter 5, it's talking about the relationship of men and women in marriage, but it uses the relationship of Christ and His church to illustrate what that looks like. He says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave Himself up for her." So beyond the advice that it gives us for marriage relationships, what this shows is that Jesus loves the church. He loves it so much that it became the model for marriage, and He loves it so much that He gave Himself up for His church. And so again, the church is important to Jesus. The church has an essential role to play in God's plan. It's important. And we see this also when the New Testament describes God's people. It describes the people who are followers of Jesus. It talks about them in collective images. What I mean is that it talks about God's people as a group, that we belong together in a group. First of all, it uses the image of a family. It talks about us as God's family, as a faith family. And so a family is connected. In a family, people don't just go it alone. The Bible also talks about God's people as a body. It uses the metaphor of a living organism with a variety of different parts that all function together interdependently. And thirdly, the Bible talks about God's people as a building, being built together to be a house for God to dwell in. And so there's an interconnectedness with building materials, whether it's bricks or framing or whatever, they are knit together. What we see is that the church is a priority to God. It's essential in His plan. God designed for us to have a group life, a community life together, so we should not disregard the church when we want to approach God. Take a minute and pause the video and discuss these questions about the church and about how you think about the church today.